Good morning. We're just going to wait a couple minutes till people come live today. I want to say welcome to Shortcuts for Your Soul. And today I'm blessed to have a group with me called the Eldars. And the first time these beings have come to me. And the fascinating thing about them is they've been beings throughout all of human civilizations, through the whole cross-section of civilizations that have existed upon this planet for at least the last 72,000 years. And these are different beings that have thrived and evolved in consciousness through each of the civilizations, whether it is the Atlantean civilization or the Lemurian or the Mu or the Egyptian or Roman, through all human civilizations. There's always been one or two, at least one or two, they say, that have self-actualized. And by self-actualized, they mean in terms of they recognize that their physical being is not the location of their only sense of identity. And so these beings have evolved themselves beyond what we call the five sensory perception of reality. Now, when they came here, again, they've been saying this to me all morning, if you try to understand yourself, or even your species from the perspective of only being a physical sensory being, then you're never going to come to the realization of what you truly are. Many of you cannot sit in the consciousness of your own being without being distracted by your senses. And therefore, you are limited to the reality that is presented to you from only that realm of your body. They've been very clear that this is a time again, and they say this has happened in every major civilization. They want to qualify that. Every major organized and intentional civilization, the opportunity has come up for individuals. They're stressing the word everyone. The opportunity comes up for everyone, but only a few individuals often make this journey. That you begin to recognize the nature of your being. That your bodies, while they are finite, while your thoughts are finite, you as a perceiving entity that is aware of both thought and matter function over a very broad range of perceptual realities that do not require the five sensory world that you currently understand, but from which you can emerge from this five sensory world by means of understanding the distinction between you, your thoughts, and your physical senses. To consider the idea of other species that are more evolved than humans, you would have to become more evolved than what you perceive yourself to be to perceive that. If there are realities existing outside of what is familiar to you based on your sense apparatus, you will not discover them from your sense apparatus. But it is very possible for each and every one of you to begin this process of self-realization. Many of you are calling it the ascension movement. Some of you are giving labels to it on a third dimensional realm called the Great Reset, where you think that the changes in the physical world are actually determining your sense of who you are, when it's actually the other way around, where your sense of who you are is determining what is happening in the world of your senses. And many of you find yourself trying to actualize yourself only from the five sensory level of perception. When we came to this one last week and said to him, it is time that people become aware that they are not exclusively bound by the conditions of matter, time, and space, that matter, time, and space, in fact, are and can be exclusively bound by the conditions of what you are as a being. he was quite delighted and surprised to have us. And so here we are today to say to you that if you wish to comprehend the truth of your being, you cannot do it from what you already know in your mind's eye, what you remember, what you believe, what you think that has been acquired from this world. But you may use those awarenesses, you may use that understanding to reflect upon what you are as the observer that interacts with these five physical senses, and including the non-physical realm of what you call thought. Consciousness cannot be extinct. You as a being cannot go extinct. Your body and matter can change, but you, when you know you are aware, cannot go extinct. You can simply shift your awareness from one dimensional fabric into another dimensional fabric of perception. The picture that I had gotten about 5 days ago, I received a picture from somebody on Facebook, and it's a picture of a Tibetan monk that's immersed himself in this giant bowl of water that's raised on a platform about 3.5 feet off the ground. And sorry, they're just saying, see how many people understand this, William. And he's sitting in this bowl of water that's raised. His whole body up to his waist is immersed in this water. And underneath this raised bowl is this blazing fire. Like literally, there's a fire blazing underneath this being. If you want to go see the picture, you can go to my Facebook group Soul Evolution, and you'll see it just a little bit down the page. So this monk is now immersed in boiling water that's being maintained by this flaming fire underneath the bowl in which he's sitting. The fire and flames are licking up and around the bowl. And the elders are the ones that made certain that I got that picture. They said to me that we wanted you to comprehend that the conditions that you perceive of your body and your physical world are not what your consciousness depends on. It is the other way around. This physical world depends upon the nature of your consciousness. And once you begin to grasp that possibility that neither your thoughts nor your body determine your existence nor your creative capabilities, although they can certainly alter and change them, if you are lost in thought, then you are bound by the thought in which you are lost. If you are lost in emotion, you're bound to the experience of that energy you call emotion. If you're lost in the perception of your senses as the exclusive means of your perception, then you will be lost in matter, which so many of you have been for many, many lifetimes. Each one of us has experienced a different manifestation of what you call human civilization. We have watched the rise and fall, the ebbs and flows of human consciousness, both individually and collectively. Technologically, we've witnessed it all up to this point, and we have seen what is to come. And if you begin to consider what is to come, you will create it. We see some of you doing that now on a very basic consciousness of matter. You are working exclusively with matter to try and create a new reality for humanity, but you'll simply create another physical reality, whether it's on this physical planet or another physical planet. If you continue to define your identity, your relationship to matter and through matter, then you will simply be working with matter against matter, and you can certainly continue to propagate your expression as a physical entity through that to a degree. But to wholly and fully extend your capabilities to manipulate and alter time-space matter, it must only and can only be done from a quality of consciousness, where you know the nature of what you are, independent of the reality constructed through your 5 physical senses, which many of you have compartmentalized as what you call a personality or an ego. And we have all had that. Those of us that are in matter and those of us that have transitioned from matter in our recognition of self, we've all gone through these different phases. Every one of you will at some point go through that phase from matter to energy and back to matter. One allowing one to become aware and conscious, the other one allowing one to become deliberately and intentionally causative to the conditions of what you call time, space, and matter. And much of what you see unfolding around you is in part because of that process of how we interact with what you call thought and matter, and also with how you interact with thought and matter. The choice must be consciously understood and recognized in order for your creative influence over this condition of your world to be a matter of choice and not simply the illusion of a subjugated experience of reality based upon what you think is cause and effect from a material existence exclusively. It is a very delightful and exciting place to become aware when you recognize that thought and the substance that thought utilizes called energy or emotion as you experience in that body, that the combined efforts of thought and emotion as harnessed by you as a conscious entity creates very specific effects in what you call the material realm. But what happens to many of you, you get caught up in the very effects that you have created, and you think that the effects that you've created are more real than you that created them. And this is where your confusion comes in. You are now bound, so many of you, to thinking that the effects that you're experiencing are causative to the existence that you find yourself in that body, and it is not. Although it can be experienced that way, it can be experienced that way for many, many of what you call lifetimes. And as we have said, we have all gone through this evolution, and you are going through it now. The question you have to ask yourself is this time that I awaken? Is this time that I realize who I am? And we use that question very carefully, because who you are is a matter of perception once again. You may believe that the movement of this body is strictly something that's resonant within this body, but we know of a fact that this movement is causative relative to our interaction with matter, that this isn't causative to our existence as consciousness. But there are many that believe that your body is seriously the identity that you think you are, and it is simply just one degree of that expression. When you begin to step up and away from matter as being the sole mechanism for your recognition of who you are, then you begin to get a glimpse that you are not the body, that it is simply an instrument that you utilize in the manifestation process of creation, that every organism, physical and non-physical, participates in. Even now, as we communicate through this one, we are very clear that we are exerting a creative influence over the conditions of matter, time, and space. It is inevitable. You cannot interact with something without bearing an influence upon it. There is not one of you in all of the creation that can escape that reality, that your interaction with anything bears an influence upon it. Even if you may be sleeping on a street, which you think is so terrible, we think it's just part of your process. But even those of you in that level are creating an effect in your experience of consciousness on the level of the material realm. And you may believe that that is the only exclusive reality for you to sleep on the street, or to do drugs, or to be a doctor, or to be a politician. You may believe that that is the only exclusive reality for you, but again, that is just and effect of your consciousness, establishing that as your reality, although you may recognize that that is simply a reality that you have established, but it is not the reality. It is not the exclusive point in which your consciousness must reside for a lifetime or for lifetimes. When you begin to get the freedom of movement in your consciousness, when you begin to find yourself that you can liberate yourself from thought, that you can liberate yourself from matter, and that they will yield themselves to your creative influence, whether that be an influence of love or joy or health or disease. The creative influence becomes your choice then. And you may subjugate your choice to the belief that others have a greater influence over your creative experience than you yourself do, in which case you will experience that also. To believe that anyone else in all of creation can subjugate you to an experience that is a creation that you would choose to assert. Yes. So So the picture that they had sent me of the monk, when I saw the picture, I was like in absolute awe. Sorry, they're just sending all these beautiful vibrations to me right now. It's just like, there is just so much joy in experiencing the energy of a being and beings that recognize they are free to create without restriction relative to what we understand to be experienced. But when I received this picture of the monk, I was in absolute awe to see this being in a physical body like we have. We all have physical bodies, and yet this being, and the accurate term is he is a being of consciousness, asserting his creative influence over the condition of his mind and his body so that he could immerse it in boiling hot water and have a raging fire burning directly under his body. This is not a parlor trick. This is a creation, a process of creation. And I'm looking at this picture with absolute awe. And then they said, now you're beginning to understand what it is so many of us have been saying to you, that you are causative to thought, and thought is causative to matter. And the nature of the thoughts that you create, or the nature of the thoughts you become causative to, determines your experience of what you call your life in this finite existence of matter that you think you are limited to. And I really got it. I really did. And the feelings, like I've been getting these feelings all week from these beings, where we are free. We are free when you recognize that emotion is not who you are, that your anger, your fear, your guilt, it is not who you are. It is energy that's been creatively utilized in your system by yourself or somebody else. So as a child, your parents can download a belief or an idea into your physical mind or your consciousness, and you can accept it and believe it and thereby live by it. And they're saying that man that was sitting in the bowl of burning water, they're saying he understands very clearly. And we use the term he because that is the physical form that would be denoted by that expression of energy. But he's very clear in recognizing that his awareness is not subjugated to conditions of thought and matter. Thought and matter are subjugated to conditions of his awareness. And so many of you are, again, as we said earlier, seeking to escape this material world by moving on to what you call other planetary systems. And that will certainly move you away from the distractions of these existing civilizations so that your consciousness can flourish independent of the influences of what we perceive to be very limited expressions of consciousness. Many of you haven't even got out of the basic concept that you are not your thoughts. Many of you believe you are your thoughts. And this can be very disturbing to those that are aware they are not their thoughts, those that are aware that there is a level of freedom in creation. That level of freedom requires a certain clarity of perception that can be diminished by others around them. At least that is the illusion. But if you understand, as we showed this one, the image of this one sitting in boiling water and not being burned, that if you understand that, then even the distractions of those around you cannot inhibit nor prevent your creative expression in any way, shape, or form or degree. And this is very important to begin to comprehend that this movement that you call ascension or the Great Reset are simply manifestations of your consciousness seeking to find a way to transcend subjectivity to the effects of what you call the physical world, the five sensory realm of experience. And we stress that it is only a five sensory realm of experience. For if you as awareness recognize the nature of what you are, you'll recognize that the five physical sensory reality is but one small facet of an infinite spectrum of potential expressions in being. That you as an awareness, as a being, as a consciousness, are not subjective to matter, nor the influences of matter, unless, of course, you are identified and being as matter and thought exclusively, then you will be subjective to them and subjected to them. As we have said earlier, we have observed and evolved, some of us, through many more civilizations than others. But all of the civilizations on this planet, there are some of us have been in the very beginning civilizations, even in the time of what you call, biblically speaking, the time of what you call Noah, where the last great effect happened, a transition in time, space, and matter that was an effect of your desire to try and break down or free yourself from subjectivity to matter. And each time you have sought to do this exclusively from the realm of your five physical senses, you have reaped the effects. The rises and falls of civilizations are just that. The effects of your consciousness seeking to alter and change conditions of being only through the five sensory expression of self. That's why you see yourself at war with one another, not because you wish to have war, but because your consciousness is seeking to liberate itself from subjectivity to matter. And you believe that one person or one thing in this world is keeping you imprisoned in your own suffering, that what they say or what they do keeps you in suffering. And this is not true. So you seek to get the other person to be out of the way, to be removed, to not be expressing as they're expressing, because you do not understand how to liberate your consciousness from the influences of your own mind and the conditions of matter as you understand them. And you have created many stories to deal with this in the form of religions to try and comprehend a reality outside of what you currently know. But let us assure you that the manifestations of even religions is a very vain attempt at trying to recognize the reality that you truly exist at. But again, you're doing it from the five sensory world. You cannot create fantastical stories about time, space, and matter in the hopes of finding a reality that exists outside and independent of time, space, and matter, but very influential over it. And so you find yourself struggling to get they or he or she or them to be a certain way so that you find peace. You seek to do this. And it has been an absolute waste of time and creation to some degree. But when you can turn inward and begin to examine the content of your mind, to liberate yourself from subjectivity to the conditions of your body, then liberate yourself from the emotions that these conditions of thought and matter manifest for you, then you'll go a great step towards liberating yourself from subjectivity, not only to others, but to your own mind and body. In truth, that is what you all mostly are, subjective to your thoughts, your minds, and your bodies as being the only source of reality for you to perceive. And we can assure you that is not the case. We are in this body right now working through it, and it is following a direction from a place that you cannot see with your eyes, but you see the hands moving, do you not? You see these hands moving, we're directing them to move right now, and you see them moving, but you do not know where we are directing them from, any more than most of you would know where that being sitting in boiling hot water is directing that event to occur from. You seek to gain understanding and freedom through the five sensory world. You seek to liberate yourself from what you perceive emotionally in this world. You think that your suffering is going to be alleviated from the world. Your suffering will only be alleviated from within you. And our simple reason for coming here today is to know, quite honestly, that you have more to your expression than you can ever realize unless you choose to realize it. Again, to take your attention away from thought, to take your attention away from this sensorial world, to begin to step out of emotion and consider that being that you are, that it functions independent of thought, emotion, and matter, but is causative to it. You cause matter to function in the ways you observe it with your 5 physical senses. Do not become subjective to the 5 physical senses, as you have made this mistake repeatedly, civilization after civilization. But each time, a few of us get free. Each and every time, a few of us get free of that subjectivity. And we return in form to aspire to awaken you to the possibility of remembering you as what you are, as consciousness, a divine creator, if we could use that term. And again, any language that we would speak, anything that we have said, much of this will be perceived again through your 5 sensory apparatus, and you'll seek to comprehend what we've said exclusively from what you think you know, and compare what we said to what you think you know, rather than moving to the experience of awareness of being, the experience of observational awareness that allows you to recognize there is a distinction between your thoughts, there is a distinction between your awareness and your body, there is a distinction between your emotions and your awareness. And when that distinction in perception begins to become conscious to anyone, then the process of liberation is just a matter of time. The moment you begin to make that distinction between body, emotion, thought, and your awareness that observes them, then your liberation begins. You all want to be free, but you want to be attached to what you wish to be free from. And of course, you will not find freedom from what you are attached to. It is like holding onto a tree and not letting go at the same time. And you do this quite often with your minds, and you do this quite often with your bodies, and you do this quite often with your emotions. You hold on to them, and you want to get rid of them, but you will not let go. And we encourage you, of all the messages and words we've spoken today, we would simply say, learn to let go of that which you are not, and embrace that which you are as consciousness. Again, there will be many others that will be coming for you to experience, to know, to understand, to awaken you as we were awakened by others. There are many of us from ancient civilizations, or so you call them. We can assure you there were civilizations technologically far more advanced than what you see on your world today. And we got to participate in some of those. Not all of us got to participate in all of them, but certainly some of us got to participate in numerous versions of what you call modern civilization. When you understand the nature of your being, that you are not bound by the confines of thought, mind, or body, time, or space, then there's a degree of freedom and information that comes to you as a consciousness. You begin to get liberated from information as something you only hear, see, smell, touch, or taste. You begin to access realms and dimensions of information that transcend your 5 sensory apparatus, that transcends the memory systems of your mind, that moves you into the awareness of your being in the present moment, which allows you to access the events of all time and space in a very profound and simple way. But let us take some of your questions before we depart today. Wow, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that we get to do this with you guys. Remember, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And again, I'm enjoying this time with the elders. I'm asking them to send to you the vibrational frequencies that they're pouring through my mind and my body and my emotional field right now. You know, when they sent me that picture of the Tibetan monk sitting in that boiling water, it really was like a cold glass of water being thrown in my face to wake me up to the reality that thought and emotion and body are not what we're supposed to be subjective to. We are supposed to be asserting a creative influence over them consciously. It just blows my mind. Before we take questions, let me just give you the rundown for next week, because one of the things that started happening is they're now telling me what's coming the next week. They said it's really important that people start getting prepared in advance for what's coming. so their creative consciousness can begin to make changes before the events happen. They say to me, we are not bound by what you call your present day world. We are part of that expanded continuum of consciousness that does not have a past or present as you understand it, nor a future, but we can embrace and perceive all possible timelines from this perspective of consciousness that we exist in. And there are many of you are asking about aliens and where these aliens are. They exist, but they do not necessarily have to have a body or a mind or operate on the 5 sensory world that you currently perceive. We are everywhere. We are in great numbers as equal or greater than yours. So next week, just to give you a quick rundown, so next week on tomorrow's meditation, by the way, is going to be with Archangel Michael, and it's going to be on letting go of ego and fear. That's going to be the meditation tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Supernatural Saturday. Next Monday on the 29th, and I want to say this properly because they were really wanted me to be very precise, the Pleiadian Council to Earth is going to be speaking on Monday on Shortcuts to Your Soul, and they say it's called How to Be Fearless. How to be fearless, or without fear. But it's very important you understand, and they wanted me to communicate this. Very important to understand what this Monday's subject is: how to be fearless. That's exactly the way they asked me to write that down. How to be fearless. It's really cool. I love it. And that's the Pleiadian Council to Earth, and that's going to be on Monday on Shortcuts. On Wednesday, the 1st of December, I've got Alan Watts coming in. I'm really excited about this because he doesn't come in very often. He came in a couple years ago. And the discussion he'll be having is, you are what you are looking for. And I'm really excited about that because he's really grounded, a very unusual being. But you are what you were looking for. That's December the 1st. And on Friday, December the 3rd, I'm going to be bringing in a being called Malachi that I've never brought in before. I've heard of him. I've heard of biblical references to him, but this being is very different for me. And again, he wants to be covering the subject of being awake and aware. And that's going to be next Friday, December the 3rd, and that will be Malachi. So that's the Pleiadian Council to Earth on Monday, Alan Watts on Wednesday, and Malachi next Friday. And the meditation tomorrow with Archangel Michael. Please join us. Awake and aware is very, very, very important. And tomorrow is going to be letting go of your ego. Also, I want to apologize I've gotten emails from a number of you about not being able to register for the Mediumship 102 program, which starts tomorrow's orientations at 11 a.m. Registration's open until Sunday evening. My website was down as we transferred it from one server host to another. So if you want to join the Mediumship 102 program, which is where my guides, my angels, and the other multidimensional beings that we all work with help us to distinguish between who we are as a consciousness, as a thought, as a body and a mind, and how to master mind and body to no longer be subjective to what the world has conditioned us to believe is true. Then that's our Mediumship 102 intermediate level program, where you'll be continuing, for those of you that were in the 101, and for those of you that are in intermediate level mediums, please come. You'll continue practicing your mediumship skills, but you'll also be learning how to master and transcend subjectivity to your mind, to your emotions, and to your body. We have a wonderful program called Sun Food Living, which Chico, one of our instructors and trainers, runs a program called Sun Food Living. I encourage you to look him up. He's linked to his sites below. So sign up for the Mediumship 102 intermediate level program today. Registration will be open till Sunday. The price for the course is $199 for 3 weeks. And there's an event running Monday to Friday, Sunday to Friday, every single week. There's a live event that's happening with our group of trained mediums and teachers and instructors, and that will be going on for 3 weeks. So it's $199 if you're there for the first time. We also have a special for repeat students, of whom we have many. That's only $99 for those of you that have taken the course before. Come and join again. The course is just evolving. It's amazing what happens when you are continually, deliberately working with these multidimensional beings. Questions and answers. My website, the links to my website and to the course is in the description box below, but it's williammichaelforbes.com/courses, and you'll see the Mediumship 102 link in the description of what the course entails and what's actually involved in the course. Hi there, everybody. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Lauren. Hello, Vertical. Yes, I did. I did do this. I was fortunate enough to be. I've done 2 fire walks in my lifetime. So seeing that monk, I didn't. It's funny, you do something and you don't really get what you've done. You know, you can do something that's like mind blowing. You don't get it, but I get it now. It's really cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was quite the experience. You understand that. Question from Diane. Recently, my brother passed. We were very close. Is there a message from him? Thank you. He's coming in right now from my upper right side, and there's this sensation like putting his hands and like holding you and rubbing the back of your head, like just like holding you close. This is a heart connection. It's and the words he's given to me to tell you are, you're not going to believe this. It's amazing. It's wondrous. I'm so grateful. I love you. Thank you. There's a feeling of great joy. You know, when you reach out, people don't realize when you reach out to the consciousness of someone that has left the physical medium of expression, just because somebody leaves the body does not mean they cease to exist. This is this ridiculous notion that humans have had for a long time. Because your body ceases to exist does not mean you cease to exist. You move into a different medium of expression than the one that you're familiar with. Please understand this. But this dear one is quite delighted. Yes, as many of you often are. And when you reach out to us, consciously, we feel that. So the joy your brother's feeling is literally the incredible joy that the connection is not lost between you and them. It never is. Because consciousness can't be separated from itself. Matter can have the appearance of separation. Yeah, I know. That's why they're just saying different things, so many things at once. That matter and consciousness does not depend upon matter, but matter depends upon consciousness. So when you think about somebody you love that has left the body, they feel the thought. Because they're on a non-physical plane, they can still perceive thought. But they can't interact with matter the same way until they master that skill. Until you master matter, it's very difficult to be not in a body and to have influence over matter unless you've really understood the nature of who you are. Yes, I understand that. Thank you so much. But yeah, great love. Great. Thank you for reaching out to him. Thank you for reaching out to him and asking me to connect with him because I can feel his joy too. Question from Enjoy. How am I doing in my development and service? Thank you so much. If the development of your service is that you are awakening to the realization that you have a determining role in what happens in the conditions of what you call this world, then you are doing very well. So many of you remain subjective to the conditions of what you perceive through your senses that you don't think or consider anything beyond that. Many of you are so caught up in this experience of survival that you have forgotten how to live. And living is creation. It is not survival. Living is creation, deliberate, conscious creation. It's not just survival. And those that are living consciously as a creator are not surviving. They're living. You take a look in the world around you at those that have so much that have learned to create. Living is creating. Survival is simply being identified as your 5 physical sense being, having no reference to anything else. Very difficult place to be, and we've all been there. Question from Daniela for Ivana. My brother hates me since childhood. He doesn't hate you. I'm telling you right that his higher self is stepping in. He does not hate you, and you have to release that idea. You have to release that idea that your brother hates you. You have to release that idea. Release the idea, because that will be your reality. If you continue, you must understand your creative influence over matter. And you've been holding this idea since these early days. And it has been your creation since those early days. Release that idea that he hates you so that he can approach you. Release that. Extend your love to him, your gratitude to him. Open your heart, open your mind to him. Release this idea, this big wall that you've carried for so many years, this illusionary belief that this one that loves you hates you? How can one love you and you believe them if you believe that they hate you? So that even if they love you and you believe they hate you, you would never see their love. Do you not understand? Wow. Question from Vio. If person with Alzheimer's have no memory left, does that count as living in a moment? Wow, this is a great question. It's funny. They're saying, no, you have to understand that your body is not the determining factor in your consciousness. Your consciousness is the determining factor in your body. Many of you, when you reach a place in consciousness where you become so subjective to matter, the discomfort at being less than what you are is great. And many of you will gently or gradually or even immediately let go of your physical means of expression as a mechanism to try and align to that which you truly are. It does not work very often to remember who you are by forgetting that you are. And again, you think that stepping out of your body is going to free you. That is not always the case. You can leave your body when you know that you are not it. But this process for this dear one that you're speaking of is, again, one that this person is seeking to transition from this dimension to the other. Their awareness of this dimension has gotten very diminutive because they are not in this dimension as you are. And everybody knows this. Many of you think there is something wrong with this process. Many of you do not understand it as a sacred transition that is also happening. And many of you disrespect and fear them. When they begin to forget you, they're not forgetting you. They mean no affront to you. They're simply seeking to evolve themselves beyond the cocoon of that identity that they've been living in, perhaps uncomfortably for many years. The cocoon of an identity is just that, the cocoon of an identity, and what you are beyond that is something very different than what you might perceive. And what they are becoming that you cannot see is much greater and grander than your eyes or ears will tell you. So let your love, let your patience, let your understanding, let your celebration of this individual as they seek to evolve themselves beyond the confines of matter. Celebrate this. If you understood this and you do not fear this, like so many of you fear things like what you call death is not the end of your being, it is simply a transition of your being. But many of you do not understand this because you still perceive the existence of your life as being wholly dependent upon your 5 physical senses, and this is ridiculous. It is simply a mechanism through which you're expressing. You're not subjective to them at all, although you will experience that. Your body will experience pain and will experience things in this world, but you are not the body. You are the creative consciousness expressing through it. Please remember this. Yes, I understand that. Wonderful. Got time for one more question today. Oh, you're welcome, Diane. Anytime. So if you can, remember to share this video with other people. And again, I want to thank the Eldars for coming present with me last week and setting this up today with us. We are at an amazing time in human collective unconsciousness, and I want to wish you a wonderful, joyful day, and realize that your body, your mind, your emotions, they are not who you are. They are instruments for your creative expression in this physical dimension. We understand this. You will understand this too one day. Whether you understand it in this life or the next, you will understand it one day. It is inevitable. The progress of a whole civilization may yield the results of but 1 or 2 or 20 or maybe even 1,000 individuals that understand as we do. It is inevitable that this experience of matter will yield a greater distillation of your consciousness than the one that you currently perceive. We want to wish you much love and gratitude, and we will see you again at another point. Again, we work with many others than what you hear or see and know at this time. There are many others. I want to wish you much love. And again, sign up for the Mediumship 102 course. You can sign up as late as Sunday evening. I think 10 p.m. is the cutoff time. So go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, sign up for the course. You can really change and alter your life in the most profound ways. I want to thank my students, and I want to apologize to those that did try to sign up for the course the last couple of days. This website is up, it's stable, it's running, and it works faster and better than it ever has before. So your experience there will be very seamless and pleasant. So thank you, everybody. Much love, and thank you, Eldars. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the meditation world with Archangel Michael. That's going to be a lot of fun. And have yourselves a wonderful and a joyful day. Bye for now.